Renowned Ukrainian writer Victoria Emelina has become the 13th person to die from Russia's missile strike on a restaurant last week.
An international center aimed at investigating Russian war crimes during the invasion of Ukraine has been set up in the Netherlands. Spain in the driving seat. Pedro Sanchez meets with the President of the European Council on the first day of its 6-month EU presidency.
Attacks by Israeli forces in the occupied West Bank leave more than 8 people dead and dozens injured.
An award-winning Ukrainian writer has died from her injuries sustained in last week's Russian missile attack on a pizza restaurant in Kramatorsk. Victoria Emelina, whose latest work was documenting alleged Russian war crimes, has become the 13th person to die in the attack. The 37-year-old was dining with a delegation of Colombian journalists and writers at the time. Around 60 others were injured. She had suffered severe skull fractures and was transferred to a hospital in Dnipro, but doctors were unable to save her.
International prosecutors have joined forces to create a body to investigate crimes of aggression following Russia's invasion of Ukraine. The International Center for the Prosecution of Crimes of Aggression against Ukraine will be coordinated by the EU's justice agency, Eurojust, in The Hague. It will probe crimes that are beyond the scope of other international legal authorities.
The Member States will play a crucial role in collecting evidence, identify witnesses and possible suspects, in executing arrest warrants, including those issued by the International Criminal Court, and in ensuring that the perpetrators of such hideous crimes cannot hide from justice.
Ukraine says the center will combat aggression that poses a threat to the entire international community.
Russia's aggression against Ukraine and its continuous use of force against sovereignty, territorial integrity and political independence that threatened Ukraine's very existence is not only directed against my country. It stands as a global threat to peace, security and stability.
The International Criminal Court is investigating war crimes in Ukraine, but it doesn't have the jurisdiction to prosecute crimes of aggression. The new body will do that and is a first step towards possible tribunals of senior Russian figures. Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez has welcomed EU Council President Charles Michel in Madrid, just one day after Sanchez and Spain took over the rotating EU presidency. He later explained why he began the nation's turn in the driving seat with a trip to Ukraine.
La Unión no escatimará esfuerzos en seguir apoyando a Ucrania. Y esa fue la razón por la que ayer viajé a Kiev en el primer día de la presidencia española para trasladar nuestro apoyo simbólico, pero también medidas concretas para apoyar al pueblo ucraniano.
Today, Ukraine is the front line in the battle for our European principles and values, and our duty is to support the people of Ukraine as much as we can and for as long as it takes.
Besides support for Ukraine, Spain hopes to make progress on several major EU issues during its presidency. This includes ensuring the EU finalizes a controversial pact on migration despite lingering differences within the 27-member bloc. Sanchez also insists a snap election this month will not disrupt Madrid's presidential turn.
Fierce clashes have erupted in Jenin following an Israeli operation in the West Bank city that left at least 8 people dead. Drones struck at what Israel says were militant targets, while ground forces raided the area's refugee camp. The Palestinian Prime Minister said Israel wanted to wipe out the camp.
هذا العدوان حلقة مكملة لما يقوم به المستوطنون من إرهاب واعتداءات. إننا ندعو العالم إلى وقف العدوان على أهلنا في جنين فورا، وندعو إلى التصدي له والتصدي لقطعان المستوطنين، ونطالب بإيقاع كل عقوبات ممكنة بحق إسرائيل المعتدية والتي ترعى الإرهاب وإرهاب المستوطنين.
Israel said the Jenin camp has been a hub of militant activity from which attacks on its territory have been launched.
We want to break of the camp being a safe haven for terrorists who were performing attacks all over Judea and Samaria, and they were running back to hide inside the camp. This will not be a safe haven for these terrorists, and that's why we're acting.
The raid has been described as the largest Israeli operation in the area for more than a year. And the army said it was likely to continue for several days.
President Emmanuel Macron calls for the return to order to the streets of France after urgent talks with senior officials over the shooting of a 17-year-old boy by the police. Earlier, the grandmother of the teenager, known as Nael, called for peace as riots erupted across the country for a sixth night. An investigation has been opened into the attempted murder of the mayor of a Paris suburb after a car ramming attack on Saturday night. Authorities said it was an apparent attempt to burn down the local official's house. The mayor's wife was badly injured. His children were also at the home. He was not. The unrest has even raised alarm abroad. Germany's chancellor has expressed concern a day after President Emmanuel Macron's postponed state visit.
Wir sind mit Frankreich befreundet. Wir sind beide ein Paar, wenn es darum geht, dafür zu sorgen, dass die Europäische Union gut funktioniert, die für unsere gemeinsame Zukunft so wichtig ist. Und deshalb gucken wir natürlich besorgt hin. Und ich hoffe sehr und bin auch sicher überzeugt, dass der französische Präsident Wege finden wird, dafür zu sorgen, dass diese Situation sich schnell wieder bessert.
45,000 police were once again deployed to the streets of France's major cities on Sunday night. On Monday, President Macron will meet with more than 220 mayors of towns and cities affected by the riots.
New and expanded powers for British police have now come into effect, including measures targeting activists who stop traffic and major building works with protests. Authorities have repeatedly condemned environmental protest groups, including Just Stop Oil and Extinction Rebellion, which have sought to raise awareness about the urgency of climate change by staging multiple high-profile protests at the busiest highways and roads. Their protests in recent years have often caused serious disruption for motorists.
Albania's Prime Minister is urging Kosovo to accept a plan proposed by France and Germany to resolve disagreements with Serbia. The two nations have led a diplomatic push to reduce ethnic tensions by calling for a rerun of April elections. Albanias Rama told Euronews Albania Kosovo should not miss the opportunity.
Kosova ka në tryez planin frango-gjerman, të cilin është Kosova në radh parë dhe jemi ne shqiptarët të parët të interesuarit që duhet ta shtym përpara deri në fund duke këmbgulur për të shfrytzuar këtë potencial të madh për ta detyruar Serbinë që ta pranojë planin frango-gjerman, që do të thotë praktikisht hapja përfundimtare e rrugës së ardhmes për një Kosovë të njohur nga të gjithë.
When asked what Albania would do if the European Union imposed punitive measures against Kosovo, Rama says he would continue to remind Prime Minister Albin Kurti that he is on the wrong path.
Ne do vazhdojmë të bëjmë, vazhdojmë të bëjmë që po bëjmë, vazhdojmë të lutemi. Albin Kurti, të lutem Albin, të lutem, kupto që je gabim, kupto që është koha për të përqafuar Bashkinë Euro-Atlantike. Kupto që është koha për të ulur bashkë me Bashkinë Euro-Atlantike dhe për ta marrë këtë fitore që ta kanë sjellë aty në tavolinë dhe që nuk po e shef që e ke aty.
Rama says all Balkan countries should be focusing on the Berlin process, a platform set up in 2014 aimed at revitalizing multilateral ties between the Western Balkans and to advance the region.
Poland's Malopolska region is hosting this year's European Games, an international multi-sport event attended by 7,000 athletes from 49 countries. It's an opportunity for those entering Olympic sports to qualify for the 2024 Summer Games in Paris. However, the event was not well attended.
prawdopodobnie przybywa w związku z igrzyskami około 20 000 osób. To tak średni weekend w Krakowie powoduje, że jest tutaj więcej osób. My nazywamy te igrzyskami przepalonych pieniędzy, bo wydano tak wiele środków, które się nie zwrócą. Tak wiele wydarzeń się tutaj odbywa, które okazały się być klapą. Zresztą w sporcie liczy się nie tylko wynik, ale także frekwencja, tłumy, entuzjazm kibiców. No nie ma kibiców, nie ma entuzjazmu.
Organizers say that they are satisfied with the results, although they emphasize that the timing of the event was met with unfavorable factors.
Przygotowywaliśmy wydarzenia przez ostatnie 1,5 roku, kiedy w Polsce mocno mówiło się o sytuacji wojny. Był temat inflacji, temat sytuacji po pandemii w Polsce, natomiast my stanęliśmy tutaj w pełni sił. Oczywiście nie w każdy dzień te trybuny były wypełnione, natomiast w trakcie rozgrywek finałowych były one pełne.
The city of Krakow, one of the main hosts, said despite the lack of great interest, investment was profitable.
Ostatecznie miasto otrzymało 350 milionów złotych na inwestycje w infrastrukturę, na budowę, remonty dróg przede wszystkim i 150 milionów na inwestycje w infrastrukturę sportową. Natomiast ten wkład miasta to 100 milionów złotych w organizację, w związku z czym łatwo policzyć, że Kraków na tym wydarzeniu zyskał 400 milionów.
The European Games in Poland ended yesterday, but opinions regarding validity of this event are still very divided. Most of them concern one question: can Poland afford to organize such events in times of financial struggle? Magdalena Wchodownik for Euronews from Krakow.